Hello, everyone. This is spiritual teacher and intuitive healer Matthew John here, and I'm really thrilled to be joined again on my channel by one of my favorite people in the health and nutrition field to talk to, Ken Swartz from shopc60.com. I'm a huge fan of C60. It's a part of my everyday routine. I tell all my family members to take it, and I tell anyone that'll listen to me, whether they're clients or friends, to take C60. It's done tremendous benefits for myself in my own health, well-being, and vitality. So I want to share with all of you the magic of C60, and what better way to share that magic of C60 by having the man himself, the most knowledgeable guy you can talk to about C60, Ken Swartz. So Ken, thank you so much for joining me once again.
Oh, glad to be on.
Wonderful. So let's start out. There's a lot of people that are going to be watching this that have no idea even what C60 is. They may have never even heard the term. They're just coming across my channel, or they're subscribed to my channel, and this is new to them. So let's just start out with the basics. What is C60?
Well, C60 is a carbon molecule, 60 atoms shaped just like a little soccer ball, and it was discovered in 1985. Got a Nobel Prize in 1996. It was kind of hard to make, so it wasn't until the 2000s, early 2000s, they tested it. In the famous Bachelor study, they found it increased Worcester rat lifespan by 90%.
Right.
And then it went from there. And I could probably get into some of my story, but I have a little slideshow about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely. Let's pull up the slides.
And I was working on the metal oxygen fusion reactor project. A lot of the scientists and professors who worked on this, was the late doctor this and the dead professor that. So I didn't want my crew or myself to end up with that way. So I went looking around for something called, I went looking around for extra radiation protectant. And I discovered this stuff called carbon 60. Basically they gave one set of rats got the carbon 60, the other set didn't. They hit them with a fatal dose of radiation, and the C60 rats lived, whereas the control rats that didn't get any, they all died. And so when I read that study, I said, well, I'm going to get some of that stuff for myself. And so we took it during the experiment. We're all still around, by the way. And
so you were doing some real dangerous work with this stuff, right?
Yeah, we eventually figured out what was going on. It was, metal oxygen fusion. It's, usually you hear about fusion, they put hydrogen, like deuterium, tritium together.
Right.
And stuff. Well, what was really happening on this stuff is metal oxygen fusion. It's when a metal, you can fuse oxygen with the metal, including like deuterium, but it lowers the Coulomb barrier. So it's like 1 billion times easier to fuse than regular fusion. But the problem is it also lowers the energy level. So instead of the energy coming out in gamma rays, which use a Geiger counter to look at gamma rays, it was coming out in the X-ray band. So all these guys were walking around with Geiger counters looking for gamma rays when all the time they were being
and they were getting hit with X-rays the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And that was why it was the late doctor this and the dead professor. But anyway, we avoided that because we had X-ray film and we figured that on, but we just had to confirm. And you never know, right? When you do experimental science, you don't know. So we just wanted to cover our bets.
Sure, yeah.
Even after the experiment was over and it was successful, I kept taking the C60. Well, I had more energy, and in the afternoon blahs you get after you eat lunch, you want to take a nap, that kind of went away.
Yeah.
And the main thing is I went into my eye doctor about 7 months after starting C60, and he discovered, there's some of these cool signs, and that's what C60 looks like. He discovered that my druise, or dry macular degeneration, that's what happens when you have macular degeneration, you can't really see in the center, that completely disappeared.
Wonderful, yeah.
And then my electrical engineer on the project, Gary Rodriguez, he had developed severe wet macular degeneration. He was seeing something like this. After a year he had like type 2 diabetes, Rodriguez, right? So I made a thing in MCT coconut. I put C60 in MCT coconut. MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides.
Right.
Liver turns that into ketones, which your body can use as a flex fuel.
Right.
So if you have insulin resistance, or you can't access the insulin, you can certainly access the ketones. So that's what it is. And then this was and then about a year of taking C60 with the MCT coconut, his wet macular degeneration completely disappeared. He generously allowed me to use this. We used to be able to post this, but we at least have it on these slides.
Sure.
You notice on here that you see all those little white things on the side of that slide.
Mm-hmm.
That's like lesions on the retina caused by macular degeneration.
Mm-hmm.
And the same eye a year later, and you can see
Wow.
it is completely healed.
Sure
And
is.
so there's the time dates and all that. So that's,
Yep.
that's kind of when we knew we really had something.
That you guys hit. Yeah, you guys found some.
If
Yeah.
mine went away, it could have just been a one-off, but with two people. And so I started making C60 for friends and family and myself. And then I started making some to my alternative healthcare practitioners, and they had good results. And they shared it with their clients, and their clients had great results. And so I was kind of like a C60 milkman driving around the front range here, dropping off that. And then to one day, I've been sharing it with some internet influencers. I don't know if you ever heard a guy named Cliff High.
Think so.
Yeah, Cliff High mentioned on Sarah Westall that's that how the C60 product I was giving him saved his and his wife's life, and then sales went through the roof, and that actually started the whole C60, because the C60 market was very tiny and only a handful of people knew about it. Some kind of weirdo scientists and stuff like that were doing side research. It was virtually unknown, and that kind of blew the market up into the woo-woo market. Of course, most of the customers don't know about it. And so what does C60 do? C60 is like a really powerful antioxidant. And basically, what is oxidative damage? Oxidative radicals. They're oxygen, right? They're causing your body to rust. That's why your joints ache in the morning, going up the stairs, because literally your body's rusting. And our body provides and also that's when you get the real tiredness, because you're not getting the hormones you need. And so as we get older, a lot of those antioxidants that our cells provide to get rid of these oxidative radicals, a lot of them are made naturally by our body, like our mitochondria, the little powerhouses in our cell. They make ATP, the energy molecule of the cell. They make other things like pregnenolone, the precursor molecule for other hormones, and basic building blocks for the synthesis of RNA and DNA. And just as they get older, those antioxidants that our body naturally produces just go down, and so the mitochondria can't work like they used to, right? And that's where you get tired and all that. Well, C60 is what's called an SOD, or superoxide dismutase mimic, and it takes care of the superoxide radical in the mitochondria and the hydroxyl radical. So those are the two most damaging oxidative radicals in the body, and that's all it interacts with. And so and before there's basically four big there's our catching up this all the things that chronic inflation do, but there's basically four big oxidative or antioxidants your body needs, kind of endogenous ones. And of course there's CoQ10, and you can supplement for that, and if you're getting older you should be supplementing for CoQ10 or ubiquinol, which is another way.
I take ubiquinol, and I tell people,
and then there's also glutathione. That's another of the big four. And you couldn't supplement for glutathione, but they have some of those liposomal. They're in like little packages. And so that's a good thing. Of course, maybe they don't get everywhere they need to.
Or you could take N-acetylcysteine as a precursor, right?
Exactly, the precursors. That's another one. But then there's a couple of the other ones are catalase and SOD. Catalase and SOD and catalase work together to take care of superoxide, damaging oxidative radical in the body. Basically, superoxide is an oxygen with an extra electron. So if anything can cause rusting in your body, that's going to be it. And so SOD, the superoxide dismutase, it would turn that superoxygen into hydrogen peroxide, and then catalase turns hydrogen peroxide back into a water and an oxygen. And what C60 does, C60 basically just steals that electron off of that super oxygen and gives it to like a little hydrogen ion. C60 likes to store positive hydrogen ions inside its little cage-like structure. So basically just takes the electron, gives it to the hydrogen ion, which turns into a hydrogen gas, which is another positive thing in your body. And C60 reset itself. So that's kind of the basic thing. And so C60, it passes your gut barrier, it passes your blood-brain barrier, it's taken into the cells through endocytosis, and then into the mitochondria through endocytosis. And so it's kind of, you could have hundreds of thousands of these bouncing around in any one of your mitochondria, kind of getting rid of that superoxide. Which when you were younger, you had plenty of SOD to take care of it. But as you get older, that's you don't have as much. And so that's kind of C60 can kind of take that SOD catalase spot.
An interesting thought I just had, Ken, is there's a lot of rightfully so, discussion nowadays about nutrient absorption, and if someone doesn't have a real good balanced gut flora, that they can have trouble absorbing nutrients from food and from supplements. But the way you're describing it, if I'm not mistaken, C60's mechanism, essentially it's not going through the gut, right? It's going.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that C60 does. C60 also stimulates stem cell production.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things C60 does, we got a lot of these zombie cells in our body.
Mm-hmm.
They're called senescent cells. Now, basically, the DNA is damaged. It can't reproduce for various reasons. Sometimes the telomeres are too short, or for other radiation damage. And instead of the cell dying through apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, the way it should do, it doesn't. And it just kind of hangs around. And when it goes into the fermentation mode, which is, it's like where, and so that starts producing alcohols and other toxins. And it's also,
that can lead down the line to some serious illnesses, which we will mention by name, but correct?
Yeah, exactly. And well, the thing is, when you take C60 will go in those senescent cells and it reactivates the mitochondria, who've been, been deprived of any antioxidants, so they can't even run. They have to go in the fermentation mode too. And once the mitochondria restart in these senescent cells, they send messages to the nuclear DNA. That's the big DNA that runs the cell. And they won't get the right messages back. So those mitochondria kind of blow themselves up and in a process called apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. And so it wipes out the senescent cells in your body. And then the body says, oh, the organ says, we need more cells. And so that stimulates stem cell production. So people that take C60, after several months, you'll have like a high level of stem cells.
Wow.
And then of course, when you have a high level of stem cells, that allows you to heal the gut barrier. In fact, that was like the first study of human with C60. It actually, they put C60 in a facial cream for Japanese women.
Right.
And then they found that it got rid of lines and wrinkles in Japanese women. Well, actually, the skin and the gut are in the same cell type. So when you take C60, it also, gets rid of.
Which is why, like a lot of people that have autoimmune skin issues, they really should look to their gut as a part of the healing protocol.
Because they're actually, when the blastus that makes the human embryo, it turns inside out. So the outside and the inside, so your skin and your gut are actually the same tissue.
Wow, that's so cool to think about.
So they're all one thing, inside and out.
Wow.
And endoderm, which is the middle, all muscles and stuff, and then the endoderm, which is our bones and stuff. It's like weird critters. So
C60, we could say, it's regenerative by nature, right?
Yes, exactly. And so basically, once your mitochondria get going, and by the way, C60 is not a magic pill.
Of course,
you have to eat healthy. You have to avoid toxins, drink clean water, get enough sleep. Stay away from that.
It's a part of an otherwise balanced diet, lifestyle, exercise. And avoiding as many of the negative inputs that are out there from poor air quality and poor water quality, et cetera. Right.
And so I haven't gone on the slideshow for a while, but if we look on it here, this is what causes your leaky gut. And most of your things is that, usually you have this epithelia on the inside. Epithelia, it's like the one layer of cells on the inside of your gut, and then they secrete nice things, and they have good bacteria that cover them. And that's where, the nutrition is. Well, when you don't have enough stem cells, because that thing turns over like every day or every 2 days, right? The whole gut. And if you don't have enough stem cells, you get gaps in it, like it shows here in the diagram. Then bacteria can sneak in, or undissolved food particles. And all kinds of things, and then
and the ammonia that's created from that, right?
Exactly, and then you get inflammation, which causes even more problems. So it's kind of like a whole self-feeding process.
Right.
So with C60, you have enough stem cells, so now you have a healthy gut, and then you have a healthy layer, and then that healthy layer secretes nutrients which help the good bacteria in your gut, because there's actually more bacteria in your gut than there are cells in your body.
Wow.
And you need to have a healthy gut biome.
Yeah, and it's amazing how, especially in the past 5 years, the alternative health community has begun to hyper focus on the importance of the gut bacteria. We're learning how crucial that is.
Yeah, and so they've actually found that like the healthiest people in the world eat various what you call prebiotic or probiotic foods. That's things like yogurt and
sauerkraut, kimchi,
all these different,
natto, yep.
Yeah, all of these different things that have like live cultures in them, and then that's super important. And but
so again, C60, it's not a panacea. It's a part of a whole number of things you should be doing for your health if you want to optimize, including pre and probiotics.
This is one. This is a typical example we get. It's a bit over the top, but this is what it is. I'm 70 years old and have been in poor health. However, 1 year of taking C60 Purple Power, my high blood pressure is gone. My eyesight is markedly improved. My aches and pains have disappeared. My high frequency hearing loss since I was 18 years old has disappeared. My hair is browner. My energy level is much, much better. I've also lost 50 pounds. I was diagnosed by an endocrinologist as being overweight due to a genetic problem with my liver, quote, which runs in his family.
Yeah.
So the only explanation of the weight loss is what I call a miraculous restoration of liver function. Bless you and all the good people that make this wonderful supplement available. Finally, my whole family and many of my friends are now on board.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, but what that really, part of that is it's mitochondrial restoration. A lot of people they have weaknesses in the SOD production or catalase production process in the body. And when you're like, if you have a malfunction in your mitochondria, that's when you're young, you don't survive, right? But a lot of it, so that isn't a problem because you're not around anymore.
Yeah.
People have stuff as they get older, their mitochondria function goes down because they can't provide enough SOD. And it's actually a pretty common problem. And so when you take C60, it replaces that. And once we have another one where a lady lost 33% of her kidney function. Nephrologist told her, oh, you're never going to recover. Well, she took C60 like 4 months later. She goes back and gets her kidney function 100%. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
So there's a whole thing of mitochondria disease.
Yeah.
That, and until C60 came along, at least for the SOD and catalase part of it, there was no cure, no way of helping that problem.
Right.
Like they had like you could do some precursors, but it was slow, not very effective. With C60 does that. Now there's other things like CoQ10 problems people can have and glutathione problems, and so you probably talk with your medical healthcare professional because you should be supplementing with CoQ10.
And another thing, Ken, is a lot of people over the past couple of years really got into the NAD plus side of things and NMN. And then, of course, the wonderful FDA ban, in the United States.
Yeah, NAC is kind of one of the precursors. The Krebs cycle is what goes on in the mitochondria, and that makes ATP the energy molecule for the cell. Whereas the NAC and some of the other things like that, they're actually inputs into the Krebs cycle. So they make it go. They're like gasoline in the
You mean the NAD plus supplements?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They're actually part of the Krebs cycle.
So the NAC is the precursor, and then plug in anything. And of course, people can still get NAD supplements, just not the NMN.
So that could be seen that as the fuel, right?
Right.
60 is more like the radiator fluid, right?
Oh, okay.
Everything cool and keep it running. So
okay.
So if you want your car to run, you got to make
sure. Taking all these different things together.
You also have to have the right octane in your engine.
Right.
So the NAC and all those other things are basically on the body changes a little bit once they're taken. It's
right.
The fuel side of things where C60 would, but you got to have all that stuff.
Right.
And of course it passes the blood-brain barrier, and that's one of the things. Like the retina is actually part of the brain, and the nerve cells. It's 2% the body's weight. It uses 20% the energy. So nerve cells are just packed with mitochondria. So anything with mitochondria, C60 is really good there. So that's why I did the retina. It really got the retina, but also things like muscles, heart muscle. Muscles are packed full of mitochondria. And then the other thing that is really packed full of is packed full of mitochondria is like the endocrine system. Those
right.
Here's like superoxide. I'm just showing you.
Right. And just for people to know, the reason Ken and I talk like this is because we're not allowed to, say, and we wouldn't want to say that it is going to cure anything. We're simply naming parts of the body that, biologically, chemically speaking, it's going to help.
Yeah, and this is This is subacute oral toxicity studies, which means it wasn't toxic. That's the way science does it. They did, and then one of the things is, can it be a toxic? And that's, they tested it. And, most of the stuff, they had all these positive benefits at like 0.1 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. Well, they actually went crazy and tested it at like 1 gram per kilogram of body weight. That's 10,000 times a health beneficial dose. And even at that insane level, there was no toxicity.
Right.
If
you can't overdose on C60.
Yeah, if you try to do it with the vitamin E. And the main thing is because it only interacts with 2 oxidative radicals, these guys.
Right.
Superoxide and the hydroxyl ion. And that's all it is. And it doesn't interact with anything else, because there's a lot of oxidative radicals your body actually uses for signaling molecules, like nitrogen oxide. That allows your capillaries to relax or tighten depending on the levels. That's super critical. C60 doesn't interfere with that. Also, hydrogen peroxide. The body uses that for some signaling molecules. C60 doesn't interfere with that, or any of the other body's signaling molecules, which is why C60 is the only supplement that antioxidant which could actually increase athletic performance. And so this is, it's a Sod Mimic.
Yeah, there's a lot. You guys have had a lot of professional athletes that take your product, right?
Yeah, we can't say names because
of course, yeah.
It's not, by the way, C60 is not banned by any athletic organization.
Right, that's correct.
It's not a nutrient. It's not a supplement. It's not like a drug. It's not anything. It's an allotrope of carbon, and it just doesn't fit in a box. So it's C60. Here's some of the things. It's Sod Mimic. I talked about that. And C60 also does glutathione's job of neutralizing the hydroxyl radical. And that's actually what most radiation, the radiation you get produces hydroxyl radicals. That's what kills you, the hydroxyl radicals, and they go off and do damages. So that's why it was so protected against radiation, because it gets rid of those oxidative radicals.
Look, and Ken, a lot of people finding this on my channel, these are people that, like myself, are super into, protecting ourselves from all of the toxins from the world. There's things coming from the sky. Just look up, you'll see them. And there's things in the water. And, by the time this video comes out, they were planning on releasing all the Fukushima water into the ocean, and that lasts forever, essentially. Right?
It'll go away in a long time.
In a very, very long time, right? But essentially, it's a very toxic world, whether we can see it or not. And most of the toxicity is invisible. And even things like EMF radiation, which we're bombarded with 24 hours a day, especially if you live in a city with 5G, you're bombarded with EMF radiation. And that is causing oxidative stress in your body all the time, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, because
C60 is the best way to protect yourself.
Because your people, probably the people listening, they've heard of ionizing radiation, like X-rays, gamma rays, and then they always said, oh, these microwaves, these 5G waves, all these other whatever, they can't cause damage, and they'd only say, oh, how much can they heat up the body? That's the only damage they could cause. Well, what they discovered is that those frequencies, specific frequencies, will jam open the voltage-gated channels in your cell, and that allows ions like calcium and potassium and sodium in and out of your cells. They're super critical, and so if the right frequency comes, it'll jam open those. They'll jam those gates open or close, and so you can't. Things leak in that shouldn't, or things leak out that shouldn't. And that's what's causing it. So they're the whole reason they used to measure like microwave radiation, say it's not dangerous, is invalid, because it works at the cellular level in the voltage gated channels. And also they found that sometimes that high energy levels will cause proteins to misform, because a lot of proteins they're made, then they have to fold up like origami.
When you're eating microwave food, for example, that the protein has become to a state where your body doesn't know what to do with it, correct?
Yeah, because it can't digest it, because it's all messed up. And also, if you're getting microwave, a lot of those proteins are trying to fold up in your cells. They can't fold up correctly.
And the 5G radiation is on the microwave level.
Exactly. That's at the exact level that it's going to mess with that.
And believe me, soon they'll come out with 6G. It's not going to stop. This is science, Yeah.
And so so that's kind of what it is, and it does. So it's an antioxidant, gets rid of those oxidative radicals. It's also really important in the mitochondria, and
the other thing, Ken, there were a lot of people that, we just went through a worldwide pandemic, and there were a lot of people that were concerned, when they went to their healthcare clinic or doctor, and, they got, a preventative measure against the disease that was going on. A lot of people have been concerned about their own health going forward, in lieu of a lot of data coming out about increased death rates and increased heart problems with people that receive those preventative measures. And, can C60 be somewhat of a thing that maybe, we don't know, but.
Yeah, C60 is actually part of that protocol.
Yeah.
People talk about NAC,
right.
Nanokinase,
Mm-hmm.
and C60 is also that.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people
to detox your body if you were someone that, made the choice to take one of those preventative measures during the pandemic. Yeah.
And it also strengthens your immune system. So there was a lot of people talking about how C60 was really helping them with this certain problem they had a couple of years ago. And of course, we all got the letter from the FDA and, warning us not to make those claims.
Of course,
we were not making the claims, but, a lot of people were. So it got on the same list with.
They sent it to all the colloidal silver companies.
If you're looking for a C60 product out there,
there's
probably some things you want to look for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And we're not the only company, by the way, that has these things. So, but that's what you should look for. We're not the only one. So we would, of course, think that,
right. And the 99.99% versus 99.9 or 99.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because and basically it's I mean, if it's a 99.9%, it's pretty good. But the key thing we're looking for here is sublimated C60.
Yeah.
Because sublimation, if you guys were sleeping in chemistry class, it's a cousin of evaporation.
Right.
When a solid turns into a gas and then back into a solid.
Right.
So it's like distillation. You know how they make alcoholic beverages, they make just, vodka, they make it through distillation. The same thing with C60 through sublimation. Mm-hmm. And that just means it's never been exposed to a tox, to the solids.
This is, a lot of people ask me, they're like, oh my God, I wish I could take this, but it's really expensive. And one of the reasons is because it's very difficult to make, right?
Yeah, it's difficult to make. And then the other thing is the purification process.
Right.
The sublimation is a little bit more expensive than the other, which they use solvents. Usually they use methylbenzene, a known carcinogen.
Yeah.
Methylbenzene, the same thing. And then they dissolve the C60, dissolves in methylbenzene. So does a little C70. And then they run it through the diffusion columns, and then they'll get like C60 and a bunch of methylbenzene in it's a dissolved like a liquid, like sugar dissolved in water. And then they boil off the methylbenzene, and then they get some C60, then they bake it. And, allegedly they can take it up to 99.99% pure through this baking process. But the problem is that 0.1%, or if you get the 99.9%, that 0.1%, that's usually just methylbenzene.
Right.
Leftover. See, with sublimation, you're going to get 99.99 or 99.98 C60 and maybe a tiny bit of C70. But there's never, ever any solvents because the stuff's never been exposed to solvents.
Right, exactly.
Sublimated C60. So if they say it's oven baked, it's not, either it's sublimated or it isn't. And that's what you want to look for. And then some other things, we put it in healthier carrier oils. It's kind of like the Goldilocks syndrome. There are some really bad oils you don't want stuff in. And those are those seed oils. The bleach oils, like canola oil, regular canola oil is so toxic that they can't give it. So they have to actually bleach it, which even makes it even worse, because it's so.
And there's no such thing really as organic canola oil because.
Yeah, exactly, because it has to be bleached. And anyway, it's really high in omega-6s. And so that's what it is. A lot of these seed oils are super high in omega-6s. And so you really don't want those because, they're great for foods, but we should have like a 1-to-1 omega-3, omega-6 levels. Yeah. Most people today, you've got a 50 omega-6 to 1 omega-3 or 20. That's the standard standard.
And that's because a lot of it is people eat a lot of fried food, for example.
Exactly, yeah, because all that stuff's like, but they've got, sometimes they've got a new trend now where you can get fried food in rice oil. And rice oil has a nice balance of omega-3.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so some places, healthy places around here have been doing that. So so basically you don't want it in seed oils. That's sunflower oil, safflower oil, canola oil, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Soybean oil, corn oil, all of these oils, they're super high in omega-6s. They're kind of been over processed. And that's one of the reasons why Americans are so sick today. But then there's some other oils that are really good for you, like flaxseed oil, even though it's a seed oil, it's good because it has really high omega-3s, or fish oil, really high omega-3s, or hemp seed oil, that's really high in omega-3s. Problem is that stuff goes rancid really quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if we were to put like C60 in flaxseed or hemp seed oil, and by the time we ship it to you, it could go rancid. So, in fact, if you're going to buy fish oil or flaxseed oil or hemp seed oil, always go to get it out of the refrigerated section of your health food store. Because if you pull like fish oil off the shelf, you don't know how long it's been there. Chances are it's rancid.
Yeah. By the way, my favorite fish oil is the Rosita cod liver oil from, it's cold pressed from Norwegian cod.
And then they refrigerate it and everything.
Yep.
Yeah,
you have to keep a refrigerator or it goes rancid.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. So we kind of picked the Goldilocks. Obviously olive oil. Everybody had in olive oil originally, and people have been using olive oil for the Mediterranean diet, all that. That's pretty healthy for you. But we also, one of the things is olive oil is a little strong, especially extra virgin, and kind of can go right through me because I have a sensitive digestive system. So I started putting it for myself. I put it in avocado oil.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Healthy, omega-3, omega-6 balance, and it's easily digested. Probably the most easily digested oil. So that's what I did. And then for my friend Gary Rodriguez, I put it in like MCT coconut oil. And I don't have a sample here. We have gummies too now.
Yeah, and the gummies are delicious. And when I was traveling recently, I took the gummies with me because they were very easy to travel with.
Yeah, that's
so the gummies are great.
The gummies are pretty good, and they're
gummies are good. This is what I take. I take personally. I'm not telling you to take this, but I take 2 tablespoons daily of C60 organic oil. I'm a pretty big guy, so for me, that's a good dose. But you can certainly take at your discretion more than the recommended dose if you desire, right, Ken? Because there's no toxicity, right?
And one of the things you should look for too is you can also tell the quality of your oil by the color. So like up here on the screen, you can see it like it's a when you get C60 and MCT oil, it's a clear purplish color.
Yep.
That's why we call it purple power, because
this is more of a kind of a black.
Those are amber. If you actually put it up the light, it's clear. It's like a clear amber, dark amber color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people out there that sell like C60 in charcoal or Gretzka C60, and it's like black as ink. There's no C60 in it. In charcoal, there's like 0.1% C60. Okay.
Right. And that's actually a question people ask me a lot, just for people's curiosity, is C60 found in nature? And it is, but you can't, not in any form that you could take and do any benefit for you.
Yeah, right? Like the burnt wick of your candle is like 0.25%, but you'd have to eat like a basket full of
or you have to find a meteorite that fell from the sky, right?
Yeah, there's some stuff like that. It's or lightning strikes of the trees,
right?
Low level,
right?
So that's just kind of the things that you want to look for. And by the way, one of the things we do have is on the QR codes. We have QR codes on the side of our things here, and you can go there and you can see where we get our olive oil and avocado. That's all organic.
Cool.
And the the C60 source, you can just kind of see, that we have it. And also the main thing is after we make our products, they're sent out to a testing facility where they're tested for microbiologics and C60 concentration.
Yeah, in general, when you're buying supplements, you want to make sure whatever you're buying has third-party testing for heavy metals, for toxins, etc. Whether you're buying CBD oil or C60 or whatever it is, Shilajit, you want to make sure it's tested.
Yeah, we actually because we're in Colorado, we adopted this from the CBD industry.
Yeah, and some of the highest quality CBD, it comes from Colorado, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because a lot of people, just like anything else, when C60 was a small thing, pretty much all the companies that made it were quality companies. They gave out a good product for people because they and their families were using it. And it was just, that's just the way it was. But then once it became popular,
right,
all of these fly-by-nighters wanted to jump into the market.
And the same thing happened with CBD, right? But before more regulation, came in.
Yeah, exactly. So we just basically adopted the CBD protocols just because, it works.
Yeah,
right? So be confident to that. And, here's an example from we took out the company because we didn't want to give away our company. Here's an example of what a certificate of analysis looks like for it's an HPLC, high precision liquid chromatography. And you can see it's 99.99% C60.
Perfect.
So, and that's the sublimation thing. That's what a sublimator looks like, by the way.
Oh wow, look at that.
So you got to put it on one side. You put the C60 and ashes on one side. You heat it up, and to about 400 degrees Celsius, the C60 evaporates, and then there's like a little flow of argon gas, which pushes it to the inside of the sublimator where it's cooler, and then it condenses. So it's like distillation. It's just, and it's small batches and it's expensive. Oh, this is the toluene. That's the methylbenzene that they.
You want to avoid
here it is. Yeah, the bad fats.
Yeah.
That have the omega-6, the good fats, which we do, and then the ones that are good for you, but they go rancid so quickly. Yeah. So it's been a while. There's our QR code, and then here's dosages. These are for like healthy individuals, like in their 30s and 40s. So if you're getting older, you'd be in the performance dose, because as we get older, we produce less SOD and catalase, so we need a little bit.
Yeah. And and again, you can't take too much. So if you want to take I take the performance dose, and if you want to,
exactly. Here's another one. Since taking C60 Purple Power for over 3 months, I've experienced a great deal of what others experienced: thought, energy, or no flu or upper respiratory illness. When my coworkers have been coming down with this few. This was before a certain thing happened a few years ago.
Right. Flu season's coming up. Winter's approaching soon, and I'll just tell you what I take. I take C60 every day, and I also take colloidal silver every day, and it seems to work for me. So
Yeah, so we have just a few others here. This is when we're running this is for a seminar we give. It's like an hour and a half long, and then you kind of just see some of these things that people. It's kind of nice because people call up and give us love letters and things.
Yeah, it is. And there's other things you can do with it. You can use it topically. You can.
Topically it's great. Yeah, that's what, like lines and wrinkles. Yeah. Japanese women, they've also found that if you rub it on the scalp, it'll increase hair growth.
Absolutely.
But of course, for guys that have male pattern baldness, that's a genetic thing. It's not really it slows that down, but it won't get rid of it. But for a lot of people that have hair loss due for other reasons, things like that, C60 is great on bringing back hair.
And you guys now have the C60 sexy products.
Yes, I don't have the
libido.
We have a C60 sexy that's edible massage oil and the gummies and stuff. And then this is that famous Bachelor study that kind of really started the whole C60 off. And you can look this up online. It's the prolongation of lifespan of rats by repeated oral administration of C60.
The rats lived so long they had to.
Yeah, well, there was
the rats.
The last couple of rats had a terrible accident because it was 5.5 years, right? A couple study.
The rats just kept living and living and living, and that's wow. There's something here.
After all the other rats were dead,
it
passed away. The C60 rats would not go away. So they had an accident. Here's another one. This is one that they did with mice. Mice have a much shorter lifespan than rats. So it was much easier. They learned from the first study. Other people saw, you guys had a problem. Let's use mice. And the same thing. Basically, the mice didn't lose their. These are mice designed to kind of have cognitive decline, Alzheimer mice, basically, and they didn't have it and extended their lifespan. So so that was a good one. And then this is some of the stuff we talked about. And this is the free radicals we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
And it's gonna it gets worse as time goes on. And it's likely to continue to get worse as time goes on. It's an incredibly toxic world we live in.
And so, all you can do is you can do the best you can.
Exactly.
But the C60 helps you cover that a little bit, because it's just that little helper.
Right. As you can see, these are all of, or a number of really important parts of your body that can be subject to free radical oxidative stress from all the sources that we mentioned and more. And C60, again, cleans up that oxidative stress, the free radicals, and allows your body to function as, it optimally can. Not saying it can cure any disease.
These products are not designed to treat, cure, prevent any diseases. These products are not approved by the FDA. Consult your healthcare professional. Okay,
perfect.
Basically, that's the thing. But basically, C60 is an adult choice. It's a And one of the things we always talk about is taking control of your health. Being in the driver's seat, not listening to somebody to tell you, because there are some people telling you to do this stuff and that stuff not too long ago. And it's been found.
Well, they still are. They still have ads on TV that telling you to.
It was all lies, and everything that they said that something didn't do any of those things. In fact, it did exactly the opposite.
So taking control of your own health, putting yourself in the driver's seat. it's not enough. And I do hear this from people a lot. And I'm very firmly the belief that because of the era that we're living in and how toxic it is not enough anymore to just eat good food. That has to be a part of it if you want to optimize your health, optimize your longevity, but it's not enough anymore. We need countermeasures to all of the toxicity that we're constantly bombarded with.
Yeah, and I mean, like you getting filtered water. I mean, because it's just there. They found now, a lot of these there's a lot of chemicals that your water system does not filter out.
Yeah.
So you get quality filters just to get it out of your water. I mean, there's just so many things now, and of course,
it's water, air, and land. There's toxicity coming from all of it, and the invisible realm, the EMF realm. So it's not like it's the 1960s and all the genetically modified food that even if you're doing your best is going to seep in one way or another, right?
That's all you can do is you can do your best, and then
exactly. But case in point, it's not like the 60s anymore, because a lot of people are watching this are older, and they do believe that, all I need to do is just eat my fruits and veggies and I'm going to be healthy. It's not necessarily that simple anymore, because we're bombarded with so many toxins, as we mentioned, that we weren't 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, so, and it's just, so you just got to, and there's 40,000 industrial chemicals that have never been tested for human health, and it's just everywhere. I mean, do the best you can. C60 can help go another thing. And,
absolutely.
And then also intelligent supplementation on your diet too. That's
absolutely. Yep.
That's a whole other show.
Yeah, making C60 a part of your supplement regimen. I do, as I say, I take 2 tablespoons every day. Use my coupon code. Okay, if you want to save 10%, save 10% on your C60 purchase, go to the description box below. It's also flashing on the screen right now. Matthew John 10 at checkout. Use that coupon code, save 10%. Get C60 for yourself, for your family members, for your friends. It is one of the best things that you can do for your health. And it's exactly why I tell all my family, friends, and clients that will listen to me to take it, because I know how powerful it is. So Ken, thank you so much for joining us once again. I love C60. I love your company. And I just am so grateful for you spending the time with us today and telling us all about the magic of C60.
Oh, glad to be on again.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, namaste.